Alrighty, I'm getting word that things have been corrected. Take it away, Ruby.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. We had it on the start screen for a little bit, and sometimes the controller likes to glitch when you leave it there for too long. So we are going to start the timer again in 3, 2, 1, go. As I was saying a second ago, if you are unfamiliar with Titan Souls, this is a masterpiece, in my opinion, created by Acid Nerve, which is the same studio that made Death's Door. And throughout this, you'll actually see a lot of bosses that appeared originally in this game that also appear in that one. The way that I like to describe this to people is it is Shadow of the Colossus mixed with Hyperlight Drifter, a 2D pixel game with several bosses in this unknown land that you need to take down one by one. So over the course of the next 20 to 25 minutes, I will be taking out 19 different bosses. This first one is known as Sludgeheart, and this is actually, even though it's the first boss, one of the hardest, in my opinion, because unlike a lot of the others where you can use very specific strats, it is entirely improvisation and RNG. So you're essentially trying to get access to that heart that is jumping around towards the top of the screen while also not getting hit by the sludge. No. Okay, take two. I'm planning on donating $5 for every time I die. Like I said, this first boss is genuinely one of the hardest in the entire game because it bounces in a completely random order, ends up in different places. But while I'm here to talk you through the mechanics, they're relatively simple, just as far as what you are given at the start of the game. You have a single hit point, but so do all of the enemies. On top of that, you have this single arrow that you can shoot and recall. So throughout the entire run, everything is going to be based on me shooting and recalling that arrow. I'm having a little bit of bad luck here on Sludgeheart, but let's see how it goes this next time. The other thing to keep in mind throughout this run is there are going to be a lot of instances where to keep the consistency, I'm going to be using the D-pad to help aim really specific arrow shots. Come on. Oh, we're right there. Wow, I am so bad with this aim right now. Hang on. Please, Sludgeheart, please. Why are you doing this? Thank you. All right. That is the hardest boss, in my opinion. A lot of speedrunners have a hard time with it, but we're going to move forward. A lot of these fights, when they go well, are probably going to be 2 or 3 to 10 seconds. But sometimes you have bad luck, which is unfortunate. One thing I also really love about this game is much like Shadow of the Colossus, Pray for the Gods, and other games of its kind, there's very little that it gives you about the plot except for what you discover as you explore the world. That was iCube. iCube, you shoot the arrow, and then as it's coming towards you, you immediately pull it towards its weak spot. One thing to note is all of the weak spots on these different bosses will usually be something red or pink, a little more organic. So for iCube, it is the eye. The second time that you play it, it actually fully translates the text. So I know right now you're seeing a more runic, ancient text, but the second time you get to see the full titles and subtitles. This is Brain Freeze. What I'm going to do here is quickly roll out of the way, melt the ice, get in line with the shadow, and as soon as I see that the brain is falling, shoot the arrow and take out Brain Freeze. There we go. That's much better. That's the kind of pace I like for these bosses. You'll also notice that as we go, there will be some with similar strategies, some with very different ones. So with iCube, that quickly shooting the arrow and pulling it back, we'll see a few other bosses that function similarly. So for this next boss, Goliath, what I'm going to do is actually kind of roll out of the arena. It expects me for this fight to be right in the center there, and I need to hit the pink spot in its chest. But By going outside of the arena, pulling the arrow towards you at the top and rolling up, it allows you to get the cutscene animations for the door opening and pulling the soul simultaneously. I'm so sorry. One thing I forgot to say at the beginning, at the end of every one of these boss fights, there are going to be flashing lights. So if you have a problem with that, I would highly recommend looking away just for a second as soon as you see me kill a boss and while I'm pulling that soul. With the way that the lore kind of functions in this game, the most that you really get as far as why you're here and doing what you're doing is you sacrificed something huge. My theory is quite literally you gave up your soul and in this pursuit of knowledge and power gained this arrow with the power to kill titans so that you could become a god and titan yourself. At this point, I'm just transitioning between areas and headed towards the Lost Woods, so BigScared, this is a great time for donations.
Phenomenal. We have a $50 donation from Just Dave saying, "Slay those big boys, Ruby." We have a
Thank you so much, Dave.
We have a $25 donation from Pillbug Hug saying, "A run of Titan Souls by the one and only RUBIEHART? As you wish."
Thank you so much, Pill. I really appreciate it. Those are dear friends and members of my Crystal Crew community, so I adore you. Thank you so much for watching. They both also run Shadow of the Colossus with me. I run this, the Pathless, Shadow, Solar Ash, all games with very big bosses. I don't know if you can tell that with speedrunning, I have a type when it's not co-op games. That boss, I just call it Spore. You shoot the arrow and bring it back. It's a quick fight. We're done. Moving on to the next one. This is Vine Thesis, which actually is the first boss that you see in Death's Door. So this is the first big Death's Door reference that we're going to see. For this fight, what I'm going to do is make sure to dodge the tendrils of its arms as best I can and dodge underneath the arms. Then as it's sucking up this air, I'm going to really quickly pull it open. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was just off position. Okay, take two. Here, while I get back in position, BigScared, if you want to read one more donation, perfect time for it.
Yeah, I've got a $20 donation from Royal Blue Wizard saying, "Good luck, Ruby. You got this. Always glad to support a great cause and amazing runners."
Thank you so much, RBW. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I have absolutely fallen in love with this game ever since I first played it last November around my birthday. But this is my first time actually running it at a marathon, so I'm really happy that my first time I could share it with the Fatales community. That is the shot I wanted to make before. So the way that shot lines up technically is you're using the analog stick to make the diagonal shot into the mouth, but want to be just off center. So as soon as you pull the arrow back, you can hit the middle again with a up D-pad shot. It is really tricky, but there are quite a few fights where you have to quickly transition from the analog stick to the D-pad for the sake of aiming really, really specific placements. One thing I also love about this game is I'm a huge fan of the Legend of Zelda series. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that some of you are too. And the structure of this game, just as far as the areas, is very similar to a lot of Legend of Zelda games, where you start off with a forest, ruined castle area, which is why I call that the Lost Woods. Then the next area we're going to go to, I refer to as Death Mountain, and the final one I refer to as Zora's Domain. Once we get to them, you'll understand why. But for now, we're actually headed towards another really cool boss, which is another Titan Slayer, Lord Elhanan. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and activate the fight by quickly shooting this arrow and pulling it back. And I line up with a specific spot on the ground and run across so that his arrow is lined up perfectly as I need it to be. And before his armor spawns back, make the shot. And just like that, Elhanan is dead. Awesome. I'm now very concerned that the game is glitching again with the analog stick, but I'm really hoping that that's not going to be the case. Come on, come on, come on. Don't do this. Don't do this. Are you good? Yeah, okay, cool. Sometimes during the death cutscenes, it also decides that it's going to move in a really weird way. The next boss is another one that is referenced in Death's Door, which is Avarice. Don't do this. Okay, my D-pad has officially glitched, so I'm going to be continuing the speed run with just the analog stick, and we'll see how that goes. So for Avarice, this is one of the easier fights in the game, so I'm going to shoot it to activate it, quickly dodge by these coins, and then I'm essentially trying to lure him towards me, and once he does this animation where he would normally shoot a coin at me, I just shoot the crystal that's directly in his mouth, and just like that, Avarice is dead. I will say that the D-pad glitching in the middle of a speedrun is going to make things a lot trickier, but we'll see how it goes. If chat, you all could give me a little bit of extra good vibes and good luck here, I would really appreciate it. We are transitioning to one other small area, so BigScared, another great time for some donations.
Phenomenal. I've got a $10 donation from Zell that says, slaying some titans for a great cause? Go Ruby.
Thank you so much.
I've got a $10 donation from Zik that says, good luck on the run, Ruby. Hope your run goes as well as our race did at SGDQ. I'm glad to see you getting to run the game at Flame Fatales.
Zik is the one who taught me basically everything I know about this speedrun. So Zik will also understand my horror when I say that the D-pad is glitching right now. But if you are interested in getting into this game, double roll. Sometimes you can, if you hit a specific point on the stairs, roll down the entire thing in one go. And that saves a little time, which is great. But Zig taught me everything I know about this game. If you're interested in getting into the speedrun yourself, he made an amazing set of tutorials that I would highly, highly, highly recommend taking a look at if you ever get the chance. Those were so helpful when it came to learning this game. And within a few weeks, I went from my casual playthrough, which took about 5.5 or 6 hours, to being able to beat the game in less than 30 minutes, which is huge. All right. We are now headed towards what I typically just call the Tower or the Elder. This is the only boss in the entire game that is a pacifist, and it's the only time in the entire game that you see text. One thing I really, really love about Titan Souls is the first time that you play it, you have this runic text, but this one boss talks to you, gives you a little lore. And the second time, when you unlock truth, it actually tells you something completely different and gives you more insight. So the text here is, another broken soul seeking truth. Less encumbered than the last. You have paid a high toll indeed for the abomination in your quiver. And for what? Knowledge? Power? I hope it was worth it, is that final line. And the second time you play the game, it gives you a lot more insight and essentially treats it as if several other people have come before and you have more knowledge, and lets you know that the being, the final boss that we see, spoilers by the way, known as Truth, created this boss as well as all the other Titans. And that boss, the Tower, the Elder, is the one who created all humans. And that this has essentially been an endless cycle of humans coming here, slowly slaying the Titans one by one, and taking their power for one reason or another. We are headed now towards Death Mountain, so BigScared, another amazing time for donations.
Phenomenal. I have a $20 donation from DP Oblivion saying, let's go Ruby.
Thanks, DP.
I've also got a $27 donation from non-binary code saying, Ruby, slay those massive monster boys like you're slaying in that dapper formal wear. Big monster fights, formal fans nights, and of course, trans rights.
Thank you so much, non-binary code. I really appreciate it. And I did try and see if the D-pad was working there for a minute, but by the character not rolling when I wanted them to, I'm very glad that I was able to save that fight and beat it. But yeah, all of this is going to be improvised shots, which will be interesting. So with that boss, the way that you're normally expected to beat Molquane, the actual name, or Blob, as I like to call it, is by shooting the arrow into its mouth, and when it's got the boulder on the ground, slowly pulling it towards that while dodging its lava. But instead, we just back it up towards the wall, get it to smack itself with the boulder. And, oh, nope. Okay, this is going to be a really hard fight without D-pad. And then get it to smack itself, shoot the crystal inside. This one, the way that I do this fight is by shooting it to activate, sending the arrow to the left, and then pulling the arrow back so that it goes into its back. Normally, I would wait a split second longer to get what we call a death warp, which essentially allows the boss to move just a little bit more. And while I'm pulling the soul and that animation is going, I can get it to kill me, which teleports me directly back to the checkpoint, saves a little time. But with this glitch that I'm dealing with, that actually would be a lot more difficult. So I didn't want to push my luck. This next one, I kid you not, the strat for this boss is singing Sia's Chandelier. I will explain after. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink. Okay, cool. So, you might be wondering why I was singing Sia's Chandelier. Good question. So, this boss, Rollquane is the name of it, or I just call it Chandelier. What you essentially do is activate the fight with the arrow, turn towards the bottom wall, and if you sing that part of Sia's Chandelier to the rhythm, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink, and then shoot the arrow to bounce it off the wall, that will perfectly hit its eye rather than having to dodge it a million times. It sounds silly, but it works. So honestly, that is probably my favorite boss in the game because of that strat alone. Also, I'm not gonna lie, if you were wondering if I'm singing the Sia version to myself and get that stuck in my head, I'm not actually singing that version in my head. I typically sing the Harold Ziedler version from the Moulin Rouge Broadway soundtrack because I am that Broadway person. If you are unfamiliar, it's a great jukebox musical. Highly recommend looking it up. In the meantime, we are in Zora's domain, and while I make these arrow shots, BigScared, a great time for donations.
Absolutely. I've got a donation from Schmootown of $25 that says perfectly you, Mir.
Okay, I'm gonna dote for a minute. Schmootown is my incredible partner and the love of my life, and I adore you and thank you for supporting me. All right, this boss, oh my god, I did not expect that to work. Okay, so for this boss, I like to call it Hydrus because it looks just like a boss in Shadow of the Colossus, but that is Onyxia. The way you normally do that fight is by quickly activating it, using a D-pad shot to the exact up left, and then pulling it back at exactly the right time to hit the tail. I was very scared that fight was going to go wrong, but that was actually beautiful. This is Yeti. You know how we kill Yeti? We shoot him in the butt. That's it. That's how we kill the Yeti. You just, his weak spot is his butt, and you shoot it. I really don't know what else to say outside of that. Cool. Moving on. The next fight is Stratus. Stratus is another one that has a very similar boss in Death's Door, so you might recognize the structure of the fight. This one essentially looks like a castle that's encased in ice, but it has teeth. And what we're essentially going to do is run past the boss. I'm going to make sure that one of the teeth is kind of shot out, and as soon as he comes up, shoot inside to the weak spot behind, and just like that, Stratus is down. Whew. Okay, we are headed towards the final 3 bosses of the entire game, which is really exciting. These are also very difficult fights, especially without having the D-pad. God, okay, I did not expect for this to be a full challenge run. All right, it's gonna take us a minute to get to this final section and the last few bosses, so BigScared just hit me with 1 million donations while we're on the way.
Beautiful. I have a $20 donation from, and I apologize advance if I ruin this one, Ogdrasir, saying, "Good luck, Ruby. It's been such an amazing experience getting to work with you. Big shout outs to all the work on the pre-show, interviews, prize segments, last but not least, slaying the game just like you do the Colossi."
Thank you so much. This is my first time as part of the interstitial team for Fatales, and I just joined interviews for SGDQ this year, so it has been a life-changing experience, and I really appreciate being able to work with you all. It's been incredible. All right, doting over. Go ahead and continue with donations.
I've got a $25 donation from Finicky saying, "Let's go Ruby, and let's also see that fear run." Just a quick update, we are a little bit over $5,000 away from hitting that incentive to see First Encounter Assault Recon here tonight on Flame Fatales.
That's incredible. Y'all make sure to get in those donations. So many of the incentives for this event look absolutely incredible. I really can't wait to see them. Okay, we are headed into the final few fights, and these can be especially tricky, especially with the essentially challenge run that I'm now doing. So I'm going to grab this checkpoint here. This one, goal set, has a very small window of time in which you can hit its weak spot, which is that okay, so that hole that just opened in its chest is its weak spot. So you essentially need it to press both buttons down. So you have to run across the arena without getting hit by any of the lasers, get it to activate its own laser shot, and then as it's charging it up, then get the arrow in. It is a really difficult fight. One thing that's fun is I can actually squeeze behind the boss, pull the arrow here, and this is another moment where we try and activate 2 cutscenes at once. So as I'm going up the stairs, I also activate the pulling of the soul, and it causes me to be able to get into the next area, but I also kind of T-pose as a glitch. But at this point, I'm just gonna get up to this boss, quickly quit out, and we are on final 2 bosses. This one is the Soul, and this one I had to look up speedrun strats when I was actually playing it the first time because it's so hard. So by aiming the arrow while you're waiting for that initial shot, you essentially trick the boss into hitting the arrow instead of you, and it has a body that exactly replicates your own inside, so you have to wait for an animation of that body very quickly flying out, and while they are separated, then shoot. That boss is done. We are on the final boss known as Truth. This boss, by beating it for the first time, you get the translation of all the text in the game, so the next time I played it, I would be able to see those full titles, and this is the only multi-phase boss in the game. On top of that, this is the first boss that really is 3-dimensional outside of Vine Thesis. What I'm gonna do here, normally these 2 spheres would very quickly rotate towards you, but by hanging out by that north wall, the eye sphere kind of just hangs out towards the top, which makes the placement a lot easier. This one, I was just waiting for that final eye to spawn, and time is going to be as soon as I make this final shot towards the eye spider. So all I'm gonna do here is shoot out these last few mouths that are trying to kill me, and that's time. Okay, cool, awesome. I was not expecting to play Titan Souls as a challenge run today, so I definitely had to come up with some strats on the fly, but overall, that could have gone a lot worse considering the circumstances. This is an incredible game. If you are a fan of boss rush games, really difficult games, a lot of people compare this to Shadow of the Colossus, Dark Souls, and Hyper Light Drifter, which are notoriously known for big boss fights and incredibly difficult gameplay. I really cannot recommend this game enough. The music in it, the gameplay, just Acid Nerve did an incredible job. A few shout outs if you want to check me out. I am at twitch.tv/RUBIEHART. I am a actor, streamer, speedrunner, interviewer, and viewer of many other things. I also have an incredible community that is so inclusive, so kind, and we regularly race speedrun games together. So if that's your jam, please feel free to join us. And I really appreciate, I especially want to just say another thank you to my incredible partner, Schmoochhound, who has been such a rock during a very turbulent time in my life and so supportive of me taking on this next step in my GDQ and speedrunning journey. So this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. So I love you. All right. With that, there are a bunch more games in the marathon to see and a lot more donations you should get in. So thank you so much again, GDQ, for having me, and enjoy the rest of Fatales, y'all.
Phenomenal work, Ruby. Give it up again for RUBIEHART and an absolutely jam-packed boss rush. Real quick, we've got a $5 donation from Danae saying, "You're killing it in this 100% boss rush, no D-pad run, Ruby. Let's go." We've also got a $10 donation from Katara saying, "I was saving my next donation for tomorrow, but Ruby's doing such an awesome job playing and commentating and looking fabulous. I just had to chip in a little extra. Good luck with these last few bosses." Well, luck wasn't needed. We have pure skill on our side. Chat, don't forget, up next we have a phenomenal and a spectacularly exciting run of Signalis by Miss Scarlett Tanager. This might be your very last chance to get those donos in if you want to clinch the category, if you want to clinch a costume. Right now, the Promise ending is winning by only $15. Right now, the white armor is winning by only $20. You can change the course of fate here with a small donation. And don't forget, all of these donations go towards our daily goal of raising $22,000 for Malala Fund, at which point we'll have a bonus speed run of First Encounter Assault Recon. This is a glitchless run by someone who has held the world record, so it's going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I hope you can help us get there. Don't forget, we've got